When a guy is this far into his career, you'd think that he'd be starting to suffer from either burnout or age or something other than putting out some of his most remarkable albums of his career. Let's dive into this guy. The Night Siren by Steve Hackett. So, for those of you who don't know, Steve Hackett was the lead guitarist for Genesis, taking over Anthony Phillips from one of the first couple of albums. He came in for Nursery Crimes and was there up until Wind and Weathering. And after he left the band, he decided to go solo. From the band members, he is one of the more he is the most probably prolific in terms of outpouring of music. All the other band members have continued to write, compose, and perform music, but he is just non-stop going and going and going and going. And we are now at arguably his 25th studio release. And it's hot off the trails from his last studio release, released in 2015, of Wolflight. And I loved that album. It had an amazing darkness to it, and that darkness is felt within the Night Siren. In fact, a lot of what was there for Wolflight is present in the Night Siren. It's almost as though these two albums are linked. They're linked thematically, they're linked narratively. Even a lot of the songs hold a lot of the same themes and metaphors, always kind of presenting this darkness, except where Wolflight was more of a kind of a mixture of dark and light. This one is more of like dead of night, like you are in the thick of it. A lot of it has to do with being so far north that the light no longer shines, and that's definitely found within tracks such as 50 Miles from the North Pole or El Nino or The Other Side of the Wall. And a lot of these tracks on here still have that darkness. Like, it starts off with Behind the Smoke, and this is definitely a very, very dark and dense song. And that is kind of how I can summarize this album very well. Even though there's no real standout track or real meaty moment or even like catchy moment that I found from Wolflight, this album as a whole feels much more grounded. Whereas Wolflight was a little bit wandering, but I like that. This one is definitely plunked down into the one space, which is odd because a lot of these songs have different thematical elements to it. A few songs will start off in a particular style, with either the Spanish guitar or more of a calypso, but then once the song gets started, it then changes a little bit, and this one is definitely found within kind of the mid-track of Anything But Love. This one starts off as kind of that Spanish guitar. Then once the song gets going, it's very almost poppy, very, very accessible. And for me, it's actually the low point, just because like I don't really gravitate too much for that. Then we get like some standout tracks like Martian Sea or El Nino. These tracks feel like they could have been lifted off some of his earlier tracks like Please Don't Touch, just with having that really dark atmosphere to it. I mean, overall, it's one of those albums that is so close to the predecessing album that I almost want to knock it for that, but because the predecessing album was so good, it felt like he grew from it. So it's the same tree, but a different angle of it. And because I love Wolflife so much, I'm not going to knock it, because if it's not broken, don't fix it. And this is kind of the MO that Steven has kind of utilized within the past at least 5 albums now. It's kind of his modum operandi. And so yeah, I mean, overall I still really, really enjoy this album, and there's not too much to say about it. Those who love Steve's work is definitely going to dig this album, especially if you liked Wolflight. Actually, I will admit, when I first listened to this album, I was a little bit disappointed. It took me 2 or 3 weeks of listening to this album to really get into it, and I think that serves as a advantage over Wolflight, because Wolflight, when I first listened to it, I was really into it and I got it right off the gates, and there were some meaty hooks on there. This doesn't have those meaty hooks. It's the essence and the atmosphere of the song that really ushers us through. So overall, I do have to recommend this album for anybody. Definitely have to say, if you can find it in physical form, pick it up, because it is well worth being in your discography, and it is an amazing addition to this already standout discography of this master of the guitar. So that's about it from Wolflight. I didn't want to dive too deep into it because you can get lost. So yeah, definitely seek it out and definitely have a listen. What did you guys think of it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Whatever you thought, let me know your own thoughts by commenting down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.